Alrighty, welcome to the next video, everyone. Today we're going to create a game logic so that way we can actually spawn in and play our games. Now, this is specifically for custom games. So if you just want to have a map where you just play deathmatch and such, then you don't actually have to do this part. Well, actually, you do have to do a little bit of it. So first things first, go back to your UGC folder, and there's that definitions file again. You're gonna go ahead and click that, or double click it, and here is what you're going to put as your map name. You're gonna leave this alone. You don't need to worry about the version, and you don't want to touch this unique ID at all. Otherwise, it may not work. So just don't touch the first one. Change the name and leave the versioning alone. All right. So you'll notice that there's two spots here. There's map and quest map. So at one point, this mod kit for 5.1.1 was made for both Shack and PC. In our example, we're just messing with Shack, so you're going to actually find the map that you made. We called it Tutorial Land. And you're going to put it in the quest map. If you put it in normal map, it's not going to be able to upload unless you're making like PC stuff. And if you're making PC maps, you're going to put it in the normal map one. You can make it hidden. So it doesn't show up in lists. I mean, it's going to show up hidden regardless, so I just don't even mess with that. The compatibility is the big thing. So this is where a lot of things are going to change. So by default, you're going to have custom, deathmatch, and team deathmatch. So custom, long story short, if you want it to be a custom game mode, you're going to have to create a lot of the logic from scratch. So if you just want it to be a map for team deathmatch or deathmatch maps, then you're going to untick custom and you're going to leave these here. If you want to create things for search and destroy, or capture the flag, or I'm trying to think of other ones like push as well, or prop hunt, you're going to have to do a little bit more stuff to it. But for this example, we're just going to do deathmatch and team deathmatch examples. As well as custom. If you are doing custom, one of the big things that you need to know is this little checkbox here. This will force the game mode to be custom game mode, like you see in the lists. If this is tagged, you won't be able to do deathmatch or team deathmatch, I believe. Don't quote me on that. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to tag this because we're going to create the blueprint for it. And it'll be pretty simple. You'll give it a label for your reference. Now, this will not show up on the list if you are making a map. However, if you're making a game mode, this will show up differently on the list. So however you're doing it, go your own way. For our examples, we're just going to call this tutorial. Pretty simple. So once you've done all this stuff, you're going to go ahead and save. And I always save like 7 times because I do it all the time. So because we created a custom game mode, we're actually going to need to create a GameLogic item blueprint in the map. So let's go ahead and show you how to do that. First things first, if you're all about organization, make your folders, do whatever you want. But for this tutorial's sake, we're just going to make a mess. You're going to go ahead and right click in the blank space. You're going to create a blueprint class. And I always go off of GL base. Now granted, I have a ton of these for whatever reason. But you'll just select the one that shows up with the little icon here, the little actor icon. Okay. Go ahead and hit OK, and you're going to give it a name. Usually a good practice is to do what the blueprint is, like what its like structure is. In this case, it's GameLogic _, and I'm gonna use the same name that I would use for my custom mode. So I'm gonna call it GL tutorial. We're gonna save that, and we're gonna take this and we're gonna drag it into the map. All right. So now when we click on it in the outliner list, we're going to have quite a bit of stuff here on the right side. Game logic settings, respawn time, players required to start, all that fun stuff. But most importantly, we're going to have this definition file. Now, we need to take our definition, drag it over to here, and drop it on there. In addition, we have global info classes, we have player info classes, and a player proxy. Now in these tutorials we will go over the player proxy and the global info class, but we probably won't go over the player info class. But for now, if you are just doing stuff by default, you could just use the player proxy example. You could also just use Pavlov player proxy if you want. We're going to create one because it's a good idea. So we're going to right click again. We're going to go to blueprint class. We're going to look up player proxy. Okay. I'm going to click on the Pavlov player proxy. I'm going to select and I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to call this tutorial proxy because why not? Cool. We're going to save again. Save all. And now we have our tutorial proxy. And what we could do is on that outliner list where GL tutorial is, we have our player proxy class. So we could take this and we could drag it and put it right there. Now we're going to create a global info class. So we're going to right click again, blueprint class, global info. We're going to click on Pavlov global info. We're going to select, and we're going to call this tutorial info. Again, names don't matter in my case, but make it so it's easy for you. Save it all, and we're good. And then drag this right there. And there we go. Now let's make it so that way when we go into the game, we actually spawn. So we're going to open up the GL tutorial by double clicking. And we're going to have this other window full of stuff. It's going to get kind of confusing. Just bear with me and you guys got this, I promise. So we're going to go to the event graph. And this is where you're going to do quite a bit of the stuff that you will need. Pretty much everything you do for custom stuff is going to be in an event graph, or it's going to be an override like function. There's a lot that goes into it. So I'm going to go ahead and click and delete everything and just start off with a blank slate. Now, when it comes to custom game modes, we have to create it. So in this function, I believe there is the option to, I think there is, yeah, there it is, to go ahead and initiate a custom game mode. And there's quite a bit of other stuff here as well, and we'll use a lot of these truthfully. So, get familiar with them, but we're going to go ahead and initialize a game mode. Now, this is called basically once the map is loaded. And it is only called if the map is set to custom game mode. So this is super important, of course. Like, this stuff has to be done, otherwise your game won't ever run, and that's no fun. So we're going to go ahead and drag this executive pin out. You're going to place a new node by just letting go, clicking and dragging in a spot. We're going to type in game mode. And at the top we have set game mode properties. We have, and if you're new to node-based stuff, this could be a lot, truthfully. But we're going to go ahead and drag this blue thing out, the blue properties tab. We're going to click and drag it somewhere free. And automatically we have a make Pavlov game mode properties. We're going to click that. And this is going to have a lot of stuff. It's quite a bit of things. So you go through these and do what you want. I'm going to tag auto respawn. I'm just going to create a basic map where you just, there's no goal or anything, you're just killing and that's it. And I'm also going to do dynamic spawns. Most of these are self-explanatory, such as spawn ghost on login. Just means that you don't spawn into a player right away, you spawn as like free floating. Keep bodies, yeah, all this stuff. Keep pawn if alive, yeah, there's a lot of things. So what we're going to do is I'm going to leave these as default minus auto respawn, respawn max delay, and dynamic spawns. I'm also going to have it a no teams, so it'll be free for all base kind of. Yeah. And then I'm going to do a delay. It's always important to do delays. Delays are really important when it comes to programming. You don't want everything to try and go within the first frame. That's just not going to happen, and it's going to create a lot of problems. So get used to using delays. It's really a good thing. Okay? And then I'm going to do a set round state. And I'm going to do starting. And that may not make a lot of sense, but I promise we'll get there. So there we go. We've initialized our, and I'm going to make this 2 seconds just because. So we've created a game mode. So now once boot time starts, it's going to immediately call this stuff, and that's important. Compile, make sure you have no errors, and save. Okay. So what is that round state? Well, round state is something that we use in this game quite a bit. So we're going to go back to this functions override, or you can right click and look it up if you want to, but it's easier to just show it this way. We're going to go here, and what we're going to do is we're going to find on round state changed. We're going to drag this somewhere where we can find it. We're going to go here. We're going to do a switch on round. Whoops. I'm going to do, wow, geez, switch round is what I'm going to just call. Switch on Pavlov round state is what we're looking for. I know this is so confusing, I bet, but it's okay. We're going to grab this new state. We're going to click it here. Just follow along with this. Like, it'll make sense as you do it, but if you are really confused, just follow along and add what I'm doing, so that way you can at least get a game mode started. And then you can tinker around with it, you know, as you go. So what we did was, after we created the game info, we want to go to starting. So we set the round state to starting. So what does starting do? Well, it starts this little execution pin here. Now, what I like to do is, depending on the type of game mode that you're creating, if you are making a game mode that requires at least 2 or 4 or however many people you need, you can actually use the start wait for players loop. And what this will do is it's going to wait and loop until there's enough people in the lobby to actually start the round. And for some game modes, that's really important. So we aren't going to really probably do this, and I don't want to open that up and make it too confusing. But if you're creating a game mode that requires a couple people, you would actually add this. You would go back to your map. You would click the little like dinosaur looking thing, or you can find your GameLogic in the outliner. And that's actually where this player's required to start would come in play. So if you need multiple people, you would change this number to what you need it to. If you need specific people, go ahead and change that. We're not going to worry about that, so I'm actually going to take that out. And I'm just going to add a little delay after the round state changes. And I'm going to do another round state. And I'm going to do it to standby. All right. Now, the important thing is when you're using a custom game mode, you have to tell the logic to spawn players. Otherwise, you're just not going to spawn at all, and that's not fun. So, what we're going to do in standby is we are going to, again, we're going to have a little delay. And then we're going to call something called spawn and possess pawns. This is going to, and it's only available in custom game mode. This is pretty much required if you're using custom game mode. This is going to tell the server, which is this little icon here. These are server-based commands. Again, don't have to worry about that too much, but this is going to tell the server to spawn players if they're in the level. Okay. And you could do a lot of other stuff from there, but that's pretty much basically what we're going to do. So we just wanted to tell it to spawn and possess. And once we do that, we're going to do another set round state. And we're going to call started. So now in started, we actually can leave this blank since we're actually not creating any specific logic for it. So we're going to keep this blank. And basically now at that point, we have pretty much a functioning game mode where you can come in and spawn and you're good to go. And usually you'll spawn in with a pistol. So there we go. So we can create a couple more spawn points, and I'll show you what's really important too about this. If you select one of these game modes, one of these spawns with your mouse, you'll notice here on the right side we have some information that we need to look at. So if you hover over this, it'll tell you some stuff like such as if you use the value -1, any team can spawn in it, or if you're in if you have 0, it's only blue team, or red is 1, etc. That could be really useful for specific custom games that you're making. In our case, we're just going to set these all to -1 because we don't really have anything specific going on. But we're also going to, oh my gosh, there we go. We're also going to tick the dynamic spawn. This is great for team deathmatch like modes, or really anything where after a player dies you just want them to respawn right away, or to respawn instead of just staying dead. You can also make it where only the team ID that is specified with the number can spawn there, or you can make it special, which is really useful for search and destroy, and it does require the uses of 1 and 0 for this number up here. We're just creating dynamic, and if you remember in our GameLogic up here when we set the game mode, we actually tag dynamic spawns, which is important if we want people to keep spawning in just wherever we have those at. And you can put these anywhere you want in your map, however you wish to do it. Again, we're not going to go into too much detail about that. So there we go. So now this actually would be pretty functional. Let's take a look at the tutorial info really quick. I know that this kind of branches off, but what's really useful for the global info class is setting things like limited ammo. So if you have game modes that require that you only have limited ammo, you could do limited generic, and players will only spawn with a limited amount of ammo. So that way they have to go pick up other guns or other things, whatever. That's really useful for that. It's also really useful if you're creating custom weapons or custom guns or items or any of that stuff, because this is where you're going to need to add it into that. We may touch that a little bit, but it's a little complicated, but I'm willing to, go over that if people want to see that. The most important thing when it comes to modding is being able to upload your content. So once you have your map to where you want it, you're going to go up to Window, you're going to go to Pavlov Workshop, and you're going to click on Upload Mod. Now, if you have a bunch of mods, make sure you take note of what this user-generated content number is, because you're going to want to go look for it now. Usually these are created in order of the way that you create them. So for example, like this is the latest one I created at 3522081, and I'm going to say tutorial world. That's just a change note. You don't have to put anything in with that. Now this is the important thing. Since we are using the Shack mod kit 3, this will not be an option for anyone who is making PC stuff. But if you're using 511 mod kit, this will actually have both Android and Windows. If you're making a PC map, you're going to want to tag Windows and not Android. And if you're making Shack, you can only choose Android. So you're going to select that little box, and you're going to click Upload Mod. Now this will take a while the first time you do this, because it will need to create quite a bit of stuff. So be patient with it. Let it go until you get a message that says Upload Complete. And we'll come back when we have that done. Well, alright. So we got our Upload Complete message. And now, this is really important. We need to go to mod.io, the website, and we need to go manage this stuff. So here we are at mod.io. We're going to click on Browse Games, and you're going to want to sign into your account. This is really important, because if you don't, you're not going to be able to see the My Teams folder, and you're not going to be able to see all your mods. So once you've signed in, you're going to click on the My Teams, and you're going to click Mods, and you will notice a list of your mods. Now, if this is your first one, you'll only have one, but I've done quite a bit, so it gets kind of messy. You're going to find the mod that corresponds to the map name that you created, or the mod name that you created. You're going to click on it. And by default, it is always hidden. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to click on the admin edit pencil up here. You can give the mod a name. You can add the summary. This will be from the mod kit, or from the definition by default. Now, once you've done it once, it will the only place you'll be able to change it is here on mod.io. You aren't going to be able to change it anywhere else. So, keep this active. And you can add a bunch of stuff, but the most important thing is you want to take the visibility from hidden to public. And you're going to want to save. And now, if we go back, or we go back to my teams, you'll notice that on this list, we have the status live, which means that we can find it on the list in Pavlov. That was pretty easy. I know it was a lot. Take your time and rewatch the video if you need more help, or you can join our Discord in the link in the description if you want to ask me or some other people who may be able to help you. I also would recommend joining the official Pavlov Discord, as the people there are able to help quite a bit. So we'll see you in the next video. We'll probably create some basic blueprints of some like random stuff, so nothing is going to be as long as this one, no doubt.